So this video will talk about some common issues that parents may face with children ages 3 to 6, give or take. So some of the most common problems of this age range is ADD or ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder, tantrums, not listening, and night terrors. And some of these overlap with the other age ranges as well. So ADD or ADHD is when a child has trouble focusing, paying attention. They get easily distracted. It's hard for them to follow directions, not because they don't want to, but because they can't remember the directions, or they can't focus on what you're saying when you give them directions. They can be hyperactive, not able to sit still, constantly running around. This can happen at dinner time or in school. Oppositional defiant disorder is when a child has trouble following rules in general, has trouble listening to adults or other authority figures like teachers, coaches, things like that. They refuse to do what you ask, and it's not just when they are cranky or upset. It's most of the time. Kids throw tantrums. That can be normal. It doesn't make it easy for parents to deal with, even if they know it's okay. So tantrums are somewhat expected for kids up to around age 4. And after age 4, if they continue happening, that might be a sign that there's something else going on, or that it's something that you might need to address. So after age 4, kids should learn that tantrums aren't a way to get what they want. And if that's happening, it could be good to address. Not listening. So that's not necessarily a mental health disorder, but it's extremely frustrating for parents, especially around bedtime, trying to get kids ready to go to school, go to daycare, do things that they need to be on time for. It can get aggravating. And night terrors. So kids wake up in the middle of the night screaming. It can be really scary for the parents. It's horrible. The good thing is that most of the time the kids don't remember it, and it doesn't indicate that there's necessarily a problem going on. It's somewhat normal for kids to get these night terrors, and there are ways to manage them. So some signs of distress that something is going on is changes in sleeping or eating habits. So kids that are sleeping more than usual, less than usual, or their eating patterns change. So maybe they stop eating, they're not hungry, they could be overeating, things that aren't normal with age. So trying to recognize those changes can be helpful. Increases in crying. So kids getting agitated or frustrated over things that never bothered them before, or crying more frequently than normal, is a sign that there could be something going on. Trouble focusing and lots of movement. So the kids can't sit still. They're, getting up out of their chair at dinner time or in school. They're trying to do homework and they can't stay focused on their homework long enough to get it completed, is a sign that something could be going on. And then somatic complaints. So if they seem to be getting headaches, stomach aches, things are bothering them, things hurt, and there doesn't seem to be a reason for that. Sometimes when kids do have something mental health related going on, it manifests physically, and that's how they, experience anxiety or extra stress, especially with COVID, or trouble making friends and playing. So another common one that toddlers face is separation anxiety. So, when kids have to start going to daycare or playing with friends, leave home to go stay with a babysitter or a grandparent, some level of distress is normal and it's healthy. Your kids should miss you. They should recognize that they're safe with you. And when you leave them, they might get a little worked up because you're not there to keep them safe. But that should go away after a few minutes or after you talk about it with them. So ways to mitigate the separation anxiety are to talk to your child about upcoming plans. So let them know, this is where we're going, this is why we're going, and this is when we're going. Don't just surprise them and spring it on them because you're afraid that they'll throw a tantrum beforehand. If they don't know what's happening, they're way more likely to get upset by it. Make your goodbyes brief. Don't drag them out. So, you might think that staying with your child and letting them have a longer goodbye might make them feel more comfortable when you do leave, but most of the time that's not the case. So if you know that your kid does get a little separation anxiety, when you say goodbye, it is pretty healthy to drop them off, say, okay, I love you, I will be back in however long, so that they know what to expect, and then leave. Another thing to do is acknowledge their feelings. I know you don't want me to go. It's hard for me too, but I will be back in an hour. And reassure them that you are coming back. Sometimes parents forget to do that just because we are so busy, and that can cause a lot of distress for your kid. So if you drop them off somewhere and they start to feel this separation anxiety, it can be really helpful to remind them, I will be back in 2 hours, or I will be back tonight or after school. So those are some things that might be helpful dealing with kids with separation anxiety. So in general, to improve the mental health of your toddler, ages 3 to 6, is to talk about feelings as they arise. So if you notice your kid is throwing a tantrum, it can be helpful to say, I can see that you're angry right now. I can see that you're frustrated, so that they can start to associate these feelings with how they actually are feeling and reacting. Placing names to their emotions is really helpful, especially at this age. They need to know exactly what they're going through, so that when they do get older and can express themselves, they know how to do that. It can be really helpful to model your own feelings and emotions, and that's also important so that they learn what these feelings and emotions are. So when you're frustrated or angry at your child, it can be helpful to say, I am feeling angry right now because, and explain why you're feeling angry. I am feeling confident because, I'm feeling proud of you because. So, positive emotions, negative emotions, daily emotions that we feel, all the time. I'm feeling content because I just had a good dinner and everything's going great. So just modeling how you're feeling to your children can be really helpful. In terms of the not listening and the focus issues, identifying routines, bedtime, leaving the house, and daytime routines can be extremely helpful. So when kids don't have routine, that's when things tend to get difficult for them and for parents. So it can be good to structure some things in the day, whether that's a set bedtime routine so they can get in the habit of doing that. Leaving the house, which is also good for separation anxiety. So every time you leave, you are going to, put on their jacket. You can make a routine of saying goodbye to the house. Goodbye, house. See you later. And then walking out and getting right in the car, and not getting distracted doing a million things between saying you're going to leave and getting in the car. And then coming up with some sort of daytime routine. So that is extremely important with COVID right now, because kids are doing school from home. There's not a lot of structure because there doesn't need to be. Even some of the classes, they might not need to be sitting on from 9 to 10 or 10 to 11. It could be on their own time. So coming up with some sort of routine in the day is really important for kids who feel like, they're losing some sense of identity and are confused about what's going on. So even if that is waking them up and eating breakfast and reading a story, or having them read for 20 minutes at the same time every day so that they can get used to some structure, can be really helpful. And then talking about fears and worries. So when your kid is, upset, asking them why and talking them through it. These are all things that can just improve the general well-being of your kid's mental health, and that are very helpful, especially at this age. There's a bunch of other things too, but these I would say are the most important as toddlers. So if you want to learn about, ages 6 to 12, you can visit my next video. Thanks.